Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on driving sustainable agriculture with EOSDA Solutions built on AWS services. My name is Brijesh Thoppil. I'm the Strategic Partnerships Lead at EOS Data Analytics, and I'll be your host for today's event. Before I proceed with further details of this webinar, I would like to ask the audience if you can see and hear me well. Please let me know with a yes or no in the chat section that is at the bottom right corner of your screen. Great, thank you. Thank you so much for your feedback. So based on the topic for today's webinar, I would like to start with a prelude towards this topic. In the recent years, the use of technology and data-driven approaches have become crucial in achieving sustainable agriculture. So as we are all aware of the impact of climate change on fruit production, which is a result of seasonal changes leading to indecisiveness in timing of soil preparation, sowing, fertilizer application, harvesting, and so on. This has greatly affected the way the agribusinesses, stakeholders, and farmers at large used to operate. And it is getting more and more clear that adopting agtech solutions is the only way to resist the climate change and achieve sustainability with profitability. And that is why we have organized this webinar today to share with you all the latest advancements in satellite technologies and the back-end processing technologies and their applications and benefits for the agriculture industry. So without further ado, I would also like to introduce two important co-speakers for today's webinar. It is my great pleasure to introduce you to Rim Elijah. She is the VP of Sales at EOS Data Analytics. To give you some background about her, she has played an instrumental role in developing some of her global strategic partnerships that involved both the adoption of satellite database technologies and capacity development challenges. And since our preparation started for the launch of our own satellite, EOSat, she has been appointed as the main point of contact for EOSat development opportunities. Rem, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, Brijesh, thank you so much for the intro. I think you've already pretty much mentioned everything what I do here, but it's a pleasure to be part of this webinar today. I think we pretty much have a very exciting agenda lined up. And yeah, my name is Rem. I'm VP of Sales at EOS Data Analytics, and I have been part of this journey now for just a bit over 3 years. And I would say it has been an interesting journey so far, and I'm pretty excited to tell you what we have achieved and what are we planning and what are our plans for the near future. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Rem. Moving on to our next speaker, then Phil Cooper. While developing software-coupled technologies, it's also very important that we choose or we work with cloud partners who provide and ensure secure, reliable, and protected cloud operations. So Amazon Web Services is not a new name in this business, and therefore we have invited Phil Cooper as our guest speaker representing AWS to share more insights on how they are supporting the agriculture industry and how they are supporting the digitization phase that is happening in the agriculture industry. Phil, welcome to this webinar. Would you like to say a few words?
Just how excited I am and delighted to be joining you today. Our customer EOSDA has done so much on AWS, and the more that they're doing, the more that we can help going forward. Pleased to see it. We're seeing such a titanic shift to the cloud at the moment within the agriculture and the remote sensing and the geospatial world, that every new satellite that's being launched and the data that they provide is providing greater insight and intelligence for the community. So yeah, really, really pleased to be joining you today, and look forward to our discussion.
Thank you, Phil. It's great to have you here. And we also have moderators available in the chat section to guide you through any questions you may have. So if you have any questions or comments based on the presentation that we are going to share with you today, please feel free to drop them in the chat section. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you. We'll also pick some of the interesting questions and answer them at the end of the webinar. Moving on with the agenda for today's webinar, We will start with an introduction of EOS Data Analytics, our history and journey. We will also delve into the solutions that we have developed for the agriculture industry in general and share details on our satellite, followed by our expertise and wide range of solutions offered for different needs. Then we will also talk about what AWS services we are leveraging in our products and solutions, the news on our AWS partnership with the AWS, followed by the listings on AWS Marketplace. And we have kept the best part of the webinar in the second half of this presentation. That is, we will invite Phil to talk about the AWS technologies, share his insights on what they are doing for the agriculture industry, along with the best practices and strategies from their side. Now, I have been with the company EOS Data Analytics for more than 2 years, and I clearly see that we are at a unique position of bringing the much needed transition to the agriculture industry. And with that, I will pass it over to Rem, and she will take over from here. She will tell us more about her company, the work we do, and how are we making a difference in the agriculture industry. So let's hear from Rem.
Thank you so much, Brijesh. I actually am able to see the list of attendees, and I see a lot of known names out there. A lot of our customers are here, and I'm so happy to see all of you. For those of you who are joining us today for the first time and who have never heard the name EOS Data Analytics before, welcome. I'm going to give you today a bit of a background about who we are as a company, when did we start our mission, what is our mission at the moment, and where are we heading with the current technologies out there. So we started in 2014. However, we started commercializing our products and services in 2019. In 2020, I joined the company as a partner account executive. We set up our partnership program. We have introduced lots of different services as well, including our custom solution, which Brijesh will elaborate on shortly. We are a team of around 220 employees. We are headquartered in the States, in California, but we have our R&D offices across Ukraine. We have over 970,000 users worldwide. We are present in every single country in the world. And this is pretty exciting that we are seeing an interest in every single corner in the world when it comes to implementing satellite technologies for the ag sector. We are heavily focused, I would say, on the agricultural sector and forestry. Of course, we are not going to stop there. For the far future, we do have plans to expand into other verticals. It has already begun, such as the mining sector. But for now, agricultural remains the #1 focus for us. And here we present, or let's say we offer everything from crop monitoring to custom solutions such as crop classification, yield prediction, soil moisture, productivity maps based on regional level, SOC model, which also Brijesh will talk about shortly. So I would say the list has pretty much expanded, especially in 2022, because we have seen such a shift in terms of the requests that we are getting from customers coming from different backgrounds. Again, considering we work in the ag sector, we don't really only work with farmers. We work with companies coming from different backgrounds. So we are talking about players coming from the telecom industry, from financing, banks, input suppliers, seed companies, IT, governmental institutions, ministries. I mean, the list is growing, and we are pretty excited because we are finally seeing that the world is really shifting their attention to satellite technology, implementing and utilizing satellite technology out there for the ag sector. And we have, as I said, we have lots of interesting customers. As you can see, we have gathered just some of the names out here, and we're going to also be talking about them shortly, what we are doing with them, how they're utilizing our technology as well. We also are going to talk about the AWS Space Accelerator that we participated last year. We are also a member of their partnership network, which will also talk about the benefits that it has given to EOS Data Analytics and how we utilize the support and the help. I would say it has been a very interesting journey so far with AWS. And also we are a member of the International Astronautical Federation. And we analyze across all of our platforms that we offer, whether it's an out-of-the-box solutions or the custom solutions, we analyze over 66 million square kilometers on a monthly basis. So we do a lot of work out there. And of course, everything is hosted on AWS. And the most, I would say, we have had many exciting milestones so far within the company and within those 3 years that I have been here. But I would say the moment that has really changed our identity as well is the launch of the EOSat this year. As you probably, some of you have heard and seen, we have launched the first satellite out there this year in January, or on January 3rd to be precise. This is actually the world's first agro-oriented satellite constellation in the market. As a company, we have tested every single source of data. So we have tried satellite Sentinels to Landsats to also the commercially available satellites out there, high resolution. And we've noticed that there are a lot of gaps in terms of these satellites when we talk about utilizing their data for the ag sector. So that was one of the reasons why we've decided to launch our own satellite constellation. In May, you're going to be able to view the first imagery that's going to come from the EOSat. And hopefully later this year, you will also be able to utilize EOSat data in our product already. You will see a huge, I would say, shift in terms of the data. We are talking about a resolution of panchromatic and multispectral, 1.4 and 2.8 meters respectively. We also are offering exclusive data ownership for selective players out there, considering there are several companies and several of our customers require exclusive data and coverage over large territories worldwide. If you do have such an interest, do reach out to us. You will have our contacts at the end of this webinar. Or you can just drop some of your questions regarding EOSat in the chat here, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. With the entire constellation, we will be able to cover 100% of all the cropland. So here we are talking about full coverage worldwide by 2025. And of course, we will also be providing access to historical data, as we're going to be combining it with the golden standard of Sentinel-2. So that will allow us to reconstruct the imagery and go back in time and showcase historical data. But it's going to be, of course, based on EOSat. So it has been a very a tremendous journey so far, really. If you guys haven't seen the launch, I would recommend also watching it. It's available, of course, on YouTube, on the Space News, and also on our across our social media. But I would say this is a huge milestone for us as a company, because this makes us, this gives us, I would say, a unique position in the industry out there, because we are now a company that doesn't only have its own software, but also we have our own hardware. So this means it's going to be full dependency on our data and, of course, on our satellite imagery as well. And considering the challenges that we are seeing in the ag sector, unfortunately, I mean, climate change is a big issue out there at the moment, and we are seeing all the changes that's affecting worldwide. So when we are thinking about a solution internally, right, when I'm brainstorming with my product team, when I'm brainstorming with the marketing, with the science division, we always think of the word sustainability. We always think about, okay, how can we make our solutions, of course, not only helpful and accurate, but also sustainable. So that's why we are happy to announce that we currently align with 10 out of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Of course, we are not able to end world hunger, but with our technology, we are able to provide information that is critical for the ag sector out there. So we are talking about understanding where we're going to have droughts, right? Where we're going to have maybe too much precipitation, how that's going to affect the yield of the crops out there. There are so many challenges a lot of the geos worldwide are facing right now. For example, soil degradation in Africa. We are seeing droughts in many parts of the world. And with our technology, we are aiming not only to provide what is happening, but we also want to showcase customers, okay, this is what's going on, this is where it's happening, and this is, of course, why it's going on, and what you should do in order to counterpart that issue, in order to solve that issue. Unfortunately, at the moment, it is not possible to provide using only satellite technology that advanced part, that what should I do with that observed problem. This is, again, one of the reasons that made us, or that drove us to launch the satellite constellation, because a lot of our customers have been asking, all right, they are happy with the product, but can you tell us what I should do with this information, right? I mean, we provide a wide variety of data, from precipitation to weather information to using different vegetation indices, productivity maps, zoning, VRA maps, the list goes on and on. But our customers want more, and we do see that demand in the market out there. And of course, we are planning on launching very exciting features very soon. And I think I can expose this information, I would say, right? I can already disclose it. So we are planning on launching our pest and disease in a month. And this is something that all of our esteemed customers have been asking for, and then we know that there is a huge demand for it. And of course, we are also planning on launching an automated yield calculator already within the crop monitoring. So that's going to change a lot of things. We are not going to be talking about it as a custom solution, but you will be able not only to monitor your fields, but also you will be able to understand how much yield you're going to have down the line. So we have pretty, I would say, productive agenda, pretty productive roadmap ahead of us in terms of our product. As you can see here, for those of you who are not aware, of course, we offer a variety of services, talking about the crop monitoring platform that operates as an out-of-the-box. It could be delivered, the data could be delivered via API or as a white label solution. And here we can showcase data from crop health maps to scouting, task management, farm organizer planner, and so much more. And of course, all of those customers that we have worldwide are using the crop monitoring at the moment, but also a portion of them are using the custom solution that I'll be talking about shortly. We also have two more platforms. EOSDA Land Viewer is one of the, I would say, the oldest platform so far that we have, but it operates as an out-of-the-box. We have pretty much, you can look at it as a marketplace for all the satellite imagery out there providers. So we have just compiled all of them in one place. So all you have to do is just log into the platform, select the AOI that you are interested in, and then you can download that imagery, accompanied with some analytics if you would like on top. And at the moment, that platform has over 20 satellite providers, including 8 high-resolution satellites. And of course, EOS SAT data will be in Land Viewer very soon, most likely in Q3/Q4 this year. And we've also launched another product in late 2021, early 2022, which is the forestry monitoring. It's now picking up the momentum. We are seeing demand for forestry. We are seeing demand for understanding where our logging activities are happening, where do we have any maybe illegal tracking activities, and of course, fire detection is something that a lot of you and a lot of the customers and the prospects out there are interested in. And one of the things that I kept mentioning earlier is the word custom. So this is one of the things that I would say also makes us unique and gives us that unique kind of value proposition. Considering we have a team of scientists and engineers, they are around 60 people at the moment or so, between 60 and 80 even. And with their help, of course, we can deliver everything from classification to yield prediction to soil moisture analytics. Soil organic carbon measurement is something that we also going to disclose, and you're going to be seeing a lot of interesting activities regarding this topic later on this year. And of course, the productivity maps. And the delivery format, as I said, could be in various ways, from white label to API to different formats like PDF, Excel, and so forth. So I hope this has kind of given you a brief about what we do as a company, who we are, and all the range of the services that we offer. Brijesh, back to you.
Thank you so much, Rem, for providing such a insightful details on the company, on our company, and what we are doing. As rightly said by Rem, climate change is a big issue, which is affecting the food production industry by a large extent. Mainly, it is due to unpredictable weather conditions like frequent droughts, frequent floods, or even extreme weather events. But on our side, like as Rim mentioned, some of the custom solutions that we have developed and some of the new custom solutions that we are bringing out to help the agriculture industry. I would like to elaborate some of the custom solutions and our ready-to-use solutions for the customers, for the partners and customers that we deal with. With so many success stories that we have collected from our customers, we cannot deny that monitoring crops with satellites does reduce the risk of crop failure and eventually prevent food shortages. So the following slides will be more about our solutions, starting off with the crop monitoring platform. Developing a crop monitoring platform or a crop monitoring tool itself is a complex process. So we at EOSDA have made sure that the service offers to our customers is top-notch, and we strive to provide them with the most comprehensive level of data that is necessary to take the preventive measures, or even if it is to find out the root causes of anomalies. It is not just about reducing the crop failure, but also optimizing the use of resources and inputs that are applied on agricultural lands. And to some extent, it is also useful for planning post-harvesting stages as well. On this slide, I would like to play a video and see how we are helping the farmers from the Midwest US region to combat the climate change effects.
End of July 2022. The northwest of Iowa suffers from an extreme drought for 6 weeks in a row. Still, the pollination of dryland corn is going quite well. At the end of the season, the crop condition is better than in the previous 2 years. Why? EOS Data Analytics decided to investigate. What is Iowa's climate like? Flat fields, perfect temperatures, favorable sunshine, enough precipitation. With the climate conditions becoming more favorable over the last few decades, no wonder Iowa is the national leader in producing corn. But that might not last long. Increasing temperatures and increasing precipitation can decrease crop productivity to the level of 1980s, and by 2050, summer heat waves might cause failed corn pollination and dramatic yield decline. What helps farmers tackle droughts in Iowa today? One aspect is optimal temperatures.
The last major drought we had was 2012, and this was D3 and D4 across much of the Midwest. That was coupled with very warm temperatures. We're not seeing those warm temperatures during this 3-year drought.
Another issue is soil moisture. Depending on the soil type and groundwater table, farmers might need to put extra irrigation efforts in certain months and make use of subsurface drainage tiles during others. To spread out risks, farmers also plant a range of corn varieties.
There's the kind of the 3 families. Bayer has one, Corteva has one, and Syngenta has one. They're all considered drought tolerant. So here's the dilemma. In non-drought conditions, if we have enough rainfall, the drought tolerant hybrids tend not to yield as well.
But can farmers anticipate droughts? 30 to 60-day weather forecasts are only directionally correct. Thunderstorms can be predicted only a week before they come. And winter weather provides limited insights on soil dryness. Still, there are reasons for farmers to remain optimistic about the future. New carbon management tools and land management practices, breeding of new corn varieties, and advancements in technologies like remote sensing can assist producers in taking even better care of their cornfields and adapting to climate change before it causes any damage to crop productivity and soil fertility.
I hope you enjoyed the short video and our work, how we have helped the farmers in Midwest US. So this is how we basically ensure sustainability with profitability. And we had also, by the way, presented a webinar last year on this very topic. If you would like to watch the recorded session, you can check out our YouTube channel with the keywords boosting profitability with EOSDA. Moving on with our other expert solutions. our other expertise is related to development of a custom platform, a custom crop monitoring platform. Otherwise, we call it as white label platform development. So developing our crop monitoring platform was not a one-day affair. We took our time to develop such a platform by following the best practices for integrating the satellite imagery, integrating the agronomic parameters, weather data, and a great deal of features, all together on a single platform. With this, I can say that our crop monitoring solution is a widely accepted and proven solution. And considering the fact that we have our in-house software development team, we are also able to develop a branded platform under our customer's name with fully customized design and options to add more features. We have many partners and customers for whom we have developed a white label crop monitoring solution or a platform. One of our best references is FAO in Colombia, where we have worked with a local partner named Geosat and developed a project-specific platform, including a mobile app for scouting. The screenshot of that platform you can see on the right side of the slide. Another reference comes from an agricultural cooperative from Canada with an estimated 6,000 members enrolled into their cooperative. The picture on the left side of the slide shows their platform. As you can see, it has a light color theme with a different brand name and logo. White label platform is generally considered as a partnership product. So we also deliver the solution with incentives that are rolled out with the partner program. And that greatly helps our partners to get the most out of their investment and marketing strategy. Some quickly enabled incentives are dedicated account management support, PR blogs and releases, access to marketing resources, and so on. If you would like to know more about our white label solution and references, please feel free to contact us at sales@eosda.com, and we will do our best to advise you with the suitable development options. Moving forward with our complex solutions, the following solutions are more science-oriented, and it requires a sampling of areas of interest and validation of ground truthing data. That is basically the reason why we call them as a custom solution. So starting with crop classification, which is one of our best methodology to assess the crop rotation practices in a given agricultural territory, whether it's at a country level or at a field level. With the use of multi-temporal satellite imagery analysis and deployment of machine learning algorithms, we are able to identify the required fields and train our artificial intelligence model to designate the fields with related crops. So crop classification is also sometimes accompanied with another technique called edge detection, which is to detect the boundaries of the field so that it's easier to estimate the acreage related to each field and crop. Some more benefits of this solution are vegetation monitoring over a large scale, data transparency between the government and the stakeholders involved in land management, and of course the cadastral data management. Like the details you see on the slide, this is from one of our projects that we have completed for the World Bank. We were able to identify some fields related to 16 different types of crops in the region of Ukraine. And we were eventually able to develop some crop mappings from the years 2016 until 2021. So this output also included the total area of each crop, the crop rotation analysis, soil moisture data, weather analysis, and yield forecasting outputs for some selected crops like corn, winter wheat, and sunflower. Next up is yield prediction. This is also one of the frequently requested solutions. It's about estimating the amount of crops that will be harvested and collected in a season. So to calculate yield values, we use field level information that includes the crop calendar information like sowing and harvesting dates of the crops, the crop variety, the soil profile, prevailing weather conditions like temperature, precipitation, to further deploy a multi-level deep learning based algorithm to estimate the amount of yield. So we are able to estimate the yield for any crop at field level or regional level with an accuracy of up to 90%. Moving on with the third most requested custom solution, soil moisture analytics. This is also a very important tool or data that we are able to provide through our crop monitoring platform. So it is provided as an integral part of the platform. As we know that soil moisture is very useful to identify the sufficient level of water level, which is necessary to understand whether the crops are developing properly or not. So lack of moisture or irrigation sometimes can lead to poor yield and perhaps decrease the chances of survival of crops. So how do we process the soil moisture data is with the help of satellite imagery from sources such as SMAP from NASA or AMSRs from the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agencies. Our soil moisture data is a real indicator of crop health because we also calibrate the data considering the atmospheric influences from evaporation, water runoff, and groundwater. So on the product interface, we displayed soil moisture at 2 levels. At the depth of, one is at a depth of 60 centimeters, and second at the depth of 6 meters. So far we had very good use cases mostly coming from the insurance industry who rely on soil moisture data to assess the forecast for the insurance payments. Moving forward with another interesting custom solutions that can complement any of the solutions that we offer, either whether it is the platform or the previously discussed shared custom solutions. So this is Harvest Dynamics Monitoring. It is developed with the help of satellite imagery analysis and constant field monitoring by doing a time series analysis of vegetation indices. So all these processes are carried out by our own team of scientists who come under our R&D department. So the main purpose of Harvest Dynamics Monitoring is to assess the level of harvest of a field on a specific date. So for example, if you want to identify if your field is completely harvested or partially harvested or not at all harvested on a specific date, then this solution is the right solution or the kind of solution that will help you to assess those kind of data. Finally, I would also like to disclose our latest custom solution, that is SOC measurement or soil organic carbon measurement, which is about measuring the level of carbon content in the soil present in agricultural land. So this is the one custom solution that Prim was referring to. We are excited about developing this solution, and also we are aware that, as we are all aware, that one of the biggest reasons of climate change is the release of carbon into the atmosphere. So soil is considered to be one of the largest carbon reservoirs in nature. And when there are crop rotation practices and frequent changes in the crop production, or let's say the type of crops that is sown or grown in agricultural areas, there is a likely chance of microbial decomposition or soil erosion to happen. So this results in the release of carbon from the soil. But also at the same time, we understand that the organic matter or the carbon content in the soil is also vital for maintaining the soil fertility and other qualities like porosity, water holding capacity, which in turn reduces the soil erosion and, let's say, enhances productivity of the field. So we understand that there is a need to balance the level of carbon. So it is necessary to get insights on the amount of this carbon content or the organic matter present in the soil, and therefore adjust the field activities accordingly. So our team of scientists from the R&D department have tested and validated our SOC measurement solution and proved that with the developed methodology that it's possible to detect the carbon emissions from farming activities. And down the line further with baseline monitoring of the crop monitoring platform, and it's possible to optimize the farming operations to minimize the carbon release and use it to the best to ensure the maximum field productivity. And evidence of our recent success with the SOC measurement model is our project with the Australian government. So we managed to win a bid along with the support of our local partner from Australia named AgriProof. So through this project, we intend to deliver the benefits of our carbon management solutions to the Australian farmers and provide them with the opportunities to combat climate change, and preserve the land quality and increase their chances of making profit and therefore improving their livelihood. So it is estimated that this project will cover around 500,000 hectares of soil in the coming months. If you would like to know more about our custom solutions and, let's say, soft measurement models, and if you think our solutions could be useful for your projects, please reach out to us at sales@eosda.com or simply put your request in the chat section, and we'll be happy to handle those requests. So we have covered a handful of information on EOSDA and our solutions. Now let's find out how it all started with AWS. So in all our solution development and management processes, we have taken utmost care with choosing the right data infrastructure, choosing the right partner for delivering the data infrastructure and the data processing services. It is very important for us to ensure that the data that we generate and the data handled through and between our products and remain reliable, secure, and protected against threats such as DDoS attacks. That's one of the reasons why we prefer to work with Amazon Web Services. We currently use 14 services from AWS. And here I wanted to highlight the most important ones like Lambda, which is for processing information from public bucket with satellite data, DynamoDB to store the area of interest of our customers, the platform users, the area that they upload on our crop monitoring platform, for example. Database services like RDS to enable quick deployment of data on our applications, CloudTrail to monitor and track the user activity, and Web Application Firewall to totally protect the web-based applications. Rem, I would like to invite you again, if you could tell us what was the defining moment of strengthening our partnership with AWS? How did it all start?
Sure, Brijesh. I mean, we started using AWS really since the moment EOS Data Analytics was born, really. But I think the most exciting part was when we joined the AWS Accelerator program last year. And of course, Phil will tell us more about the program, but as I know, hundreds of companies applied, 10 got selected. We were one of them. It was a thrilling process and a grilling one, of course, because we had to work with Amazon every day for 4 or 5 hours for a month during that accelerator, but we learned so much, and the benefits, I would say, are immense. I mean, we are talking everything from technical to business. And of course, I think, I truly believe working with AWS has really managed to make us stronger, not only in terms of the technical infrastructure, but also in terms of going out there, going after those customers, producing more interesting products, producing products that do not exist out there in the market. And that really, this allows us, of course, to leverage, that allowed us to leverage the partner program overall. But ever since, I would say, since the beginning of that program, so for the past year now, we've been working with Phil and with other colleagues at AWS very tightly. We have discussed, requirements and best practices to, recommend the data migration support, whether there was a need, to either migrate our products to the customer premise, which is something that selective customers for mega projects out there are after. So we also get the support of AWS here. Also, AWS could manage actually to or do sponsor selective POCs with customers. This also gives us access to the big names out there, right? Let's say the large input suppliers or any vertical that, of course, we are interested in acquiring. We also been working together with AWS for the go-to-market, how we can expand, of course, not locally, but also globally on a larger scale, right? So go-to-market goals have been studied and defined by both parties, and now we are working on it. Of course, this webinar is, I would say, only the beginning in terms of our marketing activities, but there is also another use case that's going to come up. And I see here some pretty exciting questions, but one of them, as I see, is the demand for the soil organic carbon. And we actually going to tackle this case with AWS later on this year. You're going to be able to read more about it. We also talked or been talking with AWS, not only regarding identifying the opportunities, let's say the projects, the potential projects out there, but also we are getting immense technical assistance from the team. And this, of course, allowed us to get a certification program, enhance our existing practices for implementing AWS architecture, and manage risks, of course, in developing our solutions as well. So the whole team had to go with certification programs, several ones, of course. And we also had to go through an intense technical review and evaluation where we had to tweak a little bit our technical infrastructure to be able to do the following. So this is just, excuse me, I wasn't aware that I wasn't on this page, but yeah, this is just a summary of what I was explaining. And basically this summary allows us to do the following. So now we have several of our products and services on AWS Marketplace. Most of them are out-of-the-box solutions for crop monitoring, for reseller program, for partnership, for white label as well. I see our audience is interested to find out more about white label. At the end of this session, as I'm aware, we're going to have 20 minutes to answer all of the questions. So we'll talk more about that as well in detail. And we also have a couple of custom solutions on AWS. So we are, I would say, quite thankful and very delighted to be working with the team, very close with Phil and, of course, all the colleagues at AWS. And before I pass on the floor to Phil to tackle his questions, of course, Phil, it would be wonderful perhaps to elaborate a little bit on the benefits, maybe more detail from your side on the benefits of the accelerator program, what it meant also for companies like EOS Data Analytics, or even for the companies that were part of the accelerator itself. Phil, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you ever so much, Rim. And once again, as I say, I'm absolutely delighted to be joining you today. I think it's testimony to EOSDA culture, as well as the actual business and technology that we provide, that has seen both their success, but also the way that the business has evolved and grown on AWS today. I mean, we always talk about really appreciating the AWS culture, and as part of that Space Accelerator, in which we have now run 3 very successfully, and EOSDA was part of that program. And the number of things that the lessons and a lot of what AWS discusses with our customers is around the first things being, we're unusually customer focused, and the work that EOSDA with us did was we took about a process of working backwards, which is a really powerful process where if you start with the customer and work backwards, you can achieve so much. In fact, 90% of what we build is based on what our customers have asked us to do. And 10% of the things we hear from customers where they maybe not articulate, but we want to try. And so in that Space Accelerator, we can compress a lot of that working backwards process, where architecture reviews, and then the outcome has been really the acceleration that has been achieved with EOS Data Analytics. And I know that we continue to run those accelerators, and maybe some people listening today would be looking forward to joining those. But it is a cultural process that we do. I think the other thing to talk about, Rim, as well, is that the 2 other aspects of AWS which have chimed with EOSDA, which is that we are pioneers. And so much of what EOSDA have done is pioneering. Actually, the agricultural processing of open commercial satellite imagery data such as Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 has now evolved into launching your own satellites, which is an incredibly exciting thing to be doing, and delivering more data and more opportunity for your customers with our support to grow and deliver. And it really is always a journey that we go on. In so much of these engagements on the accelerator specifically is that journey, and considering that we've got to work on being long-term orientated. Satellites take a while to build, they take a while to launch, and so sometimes the results don't come immediately, but actually building relationships and building, we see our customers as our partners, and that really has been the relationship we've built with EOS Data Analytics. And so we build relationships so that businesses that last longer than than us, we both we succeed and grow together. So those are the three things really: is that ability to be customer focused, to be pioneers together, and then be long-term orientated. And I think we've accomplished that. Do you want me to pick up on the next piece then, Rim, if I take on the slide?
Yes, certainly. The floor is yours, Phil.
Thank you very much. Well, and I think, on what RIM and the EOSDA have really exemplified is that we are entering a world of excitement and actually a new daring space age now. Agriculture and space, where is the connection? Well, actually, we've long term seen a rapid growth and transformation in the space industry. In fact, many people will be witnessing the new era of space flight, which is coming forward. But really, I think the area that has grown and developed so much right from the very first launch, the first imaging satellite of Landsat back in 1972, for those of us who maybe remember that or certainly have seen the data. But Landsat imagery data and imagery on AWS really for now 50 years has been part of that satellite launch operations, and we now have a 50-year archive sitting on Earth on AWS, and that archive is monitoring the Earth's surface. With the ability to launch satellites rapidly to produce imagery data, to communicate that data down, and then aggregate that data with other data sources. And for those of us from the geospatial world, geospatial data analysis really comes from interoperability of data sets, and satellite images being launched aggregate one piece of data, perhaps with an IoT sensor, and this is really what we're doing with EOSDA today. So what has all this got to do with cloud? Well, cloud is basically a major part of the way in which organizations and customers such as EOS can drive down the cost of innovation. We talk about having a number of activities that we support our customers with, but agility is everything. So it allows customers to access resources where they need them, when they need them. We've mentioned a number of services here today. I think two of the other services I'm going to mention is S3, which is the simple storage solution, the ability to store data. So you can spin up instances on EC2, which is the compute resources, which means you can develop and roll out really, really new applications globally in seconds. And equally, if the experimentation fails, then you can always deprovision those servers without risk and move on to the next thing. So I think that's a really important part of what we're doing, what EOSDA have done with us on cloud. The second thing, of course, is cost saving. If you look at how people end up moving to cloud, almost always the conversation starter ends up being cost. Now, what AWS allows customers to do is trade capital expense, variable expense, paying for IT as they consume. And this variable expense is much lower than what customers can do for themselves because of AWS economies of scale. And so we continue to allow and enable our customers to experiment, to try new applications out, and then when they succeed, move quickly out and then really become elastic. And so you can respond to peak levels of activity. Agriculture, as I'm sure everybody on this call knows, is a seasonal industry, and I think one of the things that we've got to focus on is allowing you to scale. So when when harvesting is being undertaken, then you can respond to that occasion. Equally, when that it's changing, then scale back down again. So managing that and also moving data globally is so important as well. Latency, and we have satellite images coming down via our ground station as a service opportunity. Moving that data is incredibly fast. And then if we look forward, we can start to innovate faster with the new services. And we'll mention again a couple of times, artificial intelligence and machine learning. We are able to process machine learning with multiple data sets. It's really, really fast. And I think with aerospace and satellite, which is the division that I work within, we really focus on the mission. And that mission for multiple data processing and image analysis, and once again, yes, thank you for the commentary on my cats. I'm afraid that they do join me at home, so thank you for that. But I think really it's what we've done with EOS Data Analytics is we've really got to know the business, and they've got to know us, and I think it means that we can help them drive down the cost of innovation. We can help them transform their mission which obviously is to deliver analytics and data to the agricultural sector. And this is a really, really important mission, and something that that satellite data is really really helping to move forward. In fact, if you look at geospatial on AWS today, there is an enormous amount of data and intelligence and capability available. So we have, as I mentioned at the start, the Landsat archive of 50 years of satellite imagery available on Earth on AWS. And if you've never looked at it, it is the open data platform which supports so many of our customers processing and managing data. So Landsat, Sentinel-1, 2, 3, and 5, and over 49 other data sets, including meteorological data, NOAA data, which when you aggregate together, you can start making decisions about those data sets and drawing outcomes. More recently, we've been working with things like location-based services, and AWS has a location-based services capability, so you can run cloud-based geointelligence services, geofencing instantly with cloud-native tools. So running geofencing analysis, routing analysis of data sets. We have an enormous suite of tools available to run to incorporate in the analysis that you do with geospatial data. And so many of our services now, which we didn't even get into, the databases Athena, Aurora, Redshift, are geometric, are prepared to support geospatial data sets, and we continue to invent. More recently at reInvent, we were with our machine learning platform called SageMaker. We launched Geospatial on SageMaker, and that draws directly from that satellite imagery to start creating applications and services, so that we can be faster and more involved and innovate with our customers. And also, finally, we've got some fantastic case studies with EOS Data Analytics, obviously joining the marketplace, but also national mapping agencies. The public purse is being squeezed all the time. So we have great examples like Swiss Topo, which now has a public remit to deliver mapping and geospatial intelligence to the services, and we have millions of data sets and petabytes of data being made available. So geospatial is an important part, and something that we will continue to work with. The realities really, and it's fascinating as well, seeing how EOSDA have taken this greater demand for decision making which we are experiencing, and how do we deliver, how do we help our customers deliver that intelligence faster with greater accuracy and greater reliability. EOSDA have decided to launch their own satellite. Absolutely fantastic in response to that demand. And what we're doing at AWS is we are seeing this huge explosion of data, whether it's from satellites themselves, or whether it's from ground antennas, or even social media data feeds, where geospatial intelligence allows us to bring that together, and aggregating data, unstructured, structured, vector, raster, even things like AIS and GPS, which is so inherent in everything that we do today. So car tracking, vehicle tracking, and of course agriculture moves not just from the satellite imagery, but to the supply chain as well. And so where is our cropping? Where's the origin of that data? What's the origin of that crop? It is a really big area, and one that we continue to see and support our customers in doing. Now, of course, I've talked about geospatial data, and I think Rim's going to join me back at this particular point in terms about the very data that gets used in agriculture itself. Rim, did you want to perhaps discuss some points at this particular point?
Oh, yes, I certainly do. And I always have questions, but I have to say the cat in the background, Phil, has managed to capture the
yes, I have my two Siamese cats. They enjoy my company. They come and stay with me. So I apologize. George and Matilda, if anyone's interested, my two cats,
No
George
problem.
and Matilda.
I can relate. I have Ozzy and Elvis here, so it's all good.
Indeed.
Phil, I do want to know, I mean, of course, I've been working closely with you for the past year now, and we've talked to so many industry leaders, especially in the ag sector and the space industry during the Accelerator program. But I'm sure the audience would love to know, when did AWS begin investigating the agricultural sector? Because now I know that you have a team dedicated fully for agricultural, because I know that when we talk about the word, or when we use the word space, the first thing that comes, or satellite technology, the first word that comes to to all of us, probably defense, right? Security and such verticals. Agricultural, unfortunately, is always in the background, but now the momentum is shifting because we have all of these problems that's affecting everyone, and we need to find a solution as soon as possible. So I would love to find out more about the journey of agriculture within AWS. When did it start? How do you see it evolving in the near future as well?
That's great, Rumi. Yes, and I mean, actually, agriculture has actually been a long time user of AWS cloud computing, right? Since S3 came into existence back in 2006, 2007. So we're actually really well placed to position to provide computer services that grow and shrink instantly, allowing businesses to only pay for what they use for. So, and our agricultural customers are looking for a partner whose experiences in maintaining technology infrastructure in a secure environment while enabling them to innovate faster. So that's why you'll see agriculture sharing their many, many stories of innovation going back several years at conferences. In fact, at reInvent as well, over the many, many years with such customers as Bayer, as well as McDonald's. In fact, for example, with TINE, TINE, which is a dairy cooperative in Norway, they shared the success of using machine learning in dairy operations with the Foundation for Food and Agricultural Research back in 2018. And as well as McDonald's Smart Broiler Partnership in 2020. So we see that pace of innovation continuing to accelerate. And actually, as I say, agriculture, like many industries, is really in the midst of a titanic shift. And anything that we can do to understand our customers better, then we will do that because we have expertise. And I mentioned that word mission. And that mission, and obviously I'm a geospatial in space, but the agricultural mission is as important, and so many of our customers have been using it really, as I say, since S3 launched in 2006.
And Phil, you've been using a word that I really like, the word cost, right? You are looking always, AWS is always looking to drive costs down. Cost is a very, very sensitive subject in the ag sector because all of the customers out there, all of the players, everyone really wants accurate data, reliable data, but cheap data as well. And using satellite technology, it wasn't possible, I would say, in the past. And the moment it is possible, but we are talking about more or less not a significant high accuracy. And this is, I believe, something that I'm very, first of all, glad to hear that AWS is always helping partners like EOSDA reduce costs as much as possible, because this also allows us, of course, with the EOSAT constellation to provide that accurate data and cheap, like cost effective, right? So customers can afford these kind of technologies, like satellite-based technologies, because when the whole trend started, everyone was just worried about the cost. Satellite space cost is not something that went well with the ag sector. But now, as you said, we are seeing this titanium shift in the ag sector. And this is music to my ears, Phil. So I'm very happy to hear this. And I'm looking forward to see how we can, of course, reduce the cost and at the same time provide the data that our customers are looking for.
And I know, and I will just touch on that one more point. We know we have over 90 price reductions since the start of our services, and that is absolutely the core. It's the first point of conversation with everybody, and we are always looking to do that. So I'm pleased that you've benefited from it, Rim, and obviously we will continue to listen to you and continue to do our best to continue going forward.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Phil. I'm not going to stop you there, so please.
No problem at all. So thank you, and thank you very much for adding to that. But the data sets themselves, and data is such a core part of the conversation that we have with our customers. The work that we do with the EOSDA is so much obviously around not just the imagery data, which provides the core, the base, the intelligence, the geospatial intelligence that many of our customers work with, but also there is the weather data, of course. A huge important. My grandfather was a farmer, and most of what he would talk about was he'd look at the weather in the morning and start making his decisions about even which crops he was going to cut in the afternoon or not, or make so much around the weather and the instinct. But at the same time, of course, we're dealing with more digital data, things like commodity prices, things like the protection of the soil, the nitrogen content of soil, which is a huge topic. How do we protect the soil? How do we maintain that sustainability? I'm coming back again to that. Soil data is critical. And so much of that bringing it together, and the topography, the very shape of the landscape in which we work. And as a geographer, you know, I appreciate the landscape. I walk around it, but there is so much intelligence. And I think what we've got to do is, with all these data sets, we've got, as a cloud organizer, as AWS, is, we know, we really help our customers take care of the undifferentiated heavy lifting. Take care of the data so that you can start asking the questions. Because if you can ask the questions and get the intelligence that you need in a timely fashion, in a cost-effective fashion, then actually you can drive things faster and actually really start to help not just maintain, but improve that sustainability. So these data sets, and we call them data lakes. So I work a lot with geospatial data lakes. It's all really good having the data, having the metadata associated with it, but of course, where is that data located? And then we get the overlays, and then we can make the interpretation and the analysis. So much of this data and is being worked with by our customers every single day. In fact, I've mentioned a few of these organizations already, but we continue, and NASA has actually, some people may not know, but NASA was the very first user of S3 on AWS, actually with their space program. But you know, they're long-standing supporters, and we work with them day in, day out, providing that data, storing that data, and delivering out USDA, ESA, NOAA, the climate change, and the more data that we can support and enable access to, the better. You know, it's a rich vein of data. And I'm going to plug it one more time. The Landsat archive of 50 years sits on the authoritative data source, which is S3. And I think at times is an underutilized data set in machine learning and training, but is a valuable source of intelligence. So please use Landsat. But I just wanted to touch on a couple of other areas where we have worked with customers beyond that intelligence piece. And I've seen questions already, and I think we've talked about it. You know, we've got to think about not just imagery, but also how can we get better and faster visibility into what's happening in the fields during planting and harvesting. And so AWS IoT Green Grass, which is our service to our analysis at the edge, means that analysts can get sea data to analysts in just a few minutes. I mean, we talk about satellite imagery being communicated from space down via ground stations in minutes, but this is as important to use IoT to move that from the data seeds, etc. And we have done this with Bayer Crop Science and really successfully so. The other area is BASF digital data farming. This term digital farming, smart farming, digital intelligence at every stage as well with our customers. We're seeing there's a need for not just the data process, but data privacy. Now, security is our top priority at AWS, and no more so in the agricultural sector. And we understand this really deeply, so that you know with cloud, having the ability to store data, manage data, secure by default is something else. And I know as well, Rim, we were talking previously about the areas and ways this continues to change. So if there's something else that you want to talk about, then perhaps now is a really good opportunity to do that.
Of course, always, Phil. Here, you mentioned the word digital farming, smart farming. From AWS perspective, what do you think is the next big thing in the ag sector now that you are heavily involved, expanding your team globally for the within the ag sector? What is missing in the market? What would AWS want to see? What is something? What would you want to see basically in the ag sector?
So, I think I've touched upon it a couple of times, but so many millions of our AWS customers around the world are already using advanced capabilities offered in the cloud, like IoT and connectivity, machine learning, and AI. I think that's what we're seeing really happen now, this ability to be connected and disconnected to intelligence, but also build upon the core competencies like compute and databases to accelerate innovation in agriculture. And the use of technology is leading to higher crop productivity. And that's true. But equally, we must consider the use of this technology to improve greater preservation of natural resources, and a safer, more resilient food supply and sustained progress in closing the hunger gap. It is something that I think is beholden on all of us, looking at connectivity and IoT and AI and ML. It's just every time we talk to a customer, how do we take advantage of machine learning to start driving more analytics? And so I think that's probably areas that we are seeing from our customers and will continue to support going forward.
Interesting. You mentioned the word connectivity, because this always resonates with me. As you know, one of my favorite industries to work with is the telecom sector. And this is why we are heavily, I would say, started focusing a lot on the telecom sector. We are talking to the major players out there because a lot of them do want to, of course, reach out to more customers, especially in remote areas. Let's take Africa again, for instance. I know because I've talked about this point in some other previous webinars, but the thing is, for example, Africa has the largest, first of all, agricultural is the single largest employer in the world, and most of the people in Africa do work still, of course, in agricultural. So a lot of the telecom operators out there, they do want to reach out to more of those farmers. They want to reach out to more communities out there, especially in remote areas. And one of the ways on how they can, of course, reach out to them and at the same time offer value-added services is they offer them a package, let's say for $5, whatever the price is, and just a little bit on top, 50 cents, even 20 cents. They can also get access to agricultural data that will help, that will help the end user, that will help those farmers. They'll be able to see what is going on, so we don't have to resort to these old methods, as you said, checking the weather out of the window anymore. We can just do that, using online platforms such as, for example, crop monitoring, right? Or we can see what the weather is going to be like 2 weeks from now, or we can also get weather alerts, right, in advance. This is one of the things that we'll also tackle, because I saw a very interesting question. I will be able to answer it shortly from one of our audience. So I think this is really fascinating. And of course, we do have customers that we are working with the telecom, but this is definitely a major industry that I know we are focusing on also, not alone independently, but also with AWS. We are reaching out together to the telecom players out there and see how we can push that drive, how we can push that innovation, and of course, implemented on a global scale. If not global scale, of course, then it's going to be governmental scale, because telecom operators do have that power. They do have the capacity to reach out to all the farms out there, right? So that's why I think telecom is going to be a major industry to work with together.
Yeah, I would absolutely resonate with that point. I think the telecoms industry, when we have you're talking about edge compute and edge processing. We have an entire family with the Snow family to do this, where that processing takes place. But one of the things that we're doing, and I think we're seeing more, is the ability to work with the communications industry to actually once again innovate from the soil to the ocean to space to collaboration around climate, be it in genomics or sharing agricultural practices across traditional barriers like languages at times. So, and I'm inspired by a lot of these public and private organizations to do this. And so we do this connectivity. We've worked with Digital Earth Africa, for example, to make that data available. And it is as much about bringing the data back as it's then pushing the intelligence back out, even if it's via simple services like SNS messaging services that provide small details. And so you're right, bringing that connectivity, thinking about edge processing is something that we're witnessing, and it all becomes unified together. And we're very excited to be working with across the telecoms community, as well as the new sort of connected communities, that the likes of Inmarsat, OneWeb as well. Organizations, technologies that are connecting to remote areas as well. And the more that we can do to bring down that data piece, and a lot of this comes back to that data efficiency. So compression or analysis, can you push the analysis to the edge? Absolutely, I agree. And the more we do together, the more that will drive down cost and drive up innovation.
Clear. We have a lot to do ahead of us, I would say, in terms of how we can again take agriculture to the next level. So
absolutely. And as I say, the best thing that we will do and we will continue to do is listen to the voice of our customer and our partners, and do that together. And we do that with EOSDA, and EOSDA are superb at listening and working with us, and then we work things through together. And I think that's a really, really strong approach.
I do remember one of the things that you always say, you work with a problem and then you start with a problem and you like work your way backwards, right? This is also a methodology that we are following internally at EOSDA, the same as you do at AWS. We listen to our customers' need, we see what is missing out there, and then we start with that problem and build the solution basing it on what the customers want. So same approach.
So, and I'm just going to sort of finish off, if you don't mind, with just a little plug, I hope, with everybody. And this is actually as much around, and I think one of the challenges is as much around having the skills to actually take advantage of all this data. You know, as an organization, we're always keen to help our customers, as we did through the space accelerator process, is that I think the skills gap is a challenge. You know, with this great technology, with the ability, this great data. So just a little plug, if you don't mind me, everybody, if you want to build skills on cloud, then I really, wanted to just sort of attest that, if people want to have their QR codes, then access training. We do make so much data available. We have Activate programs, and it's the same here, I think, within this sector. This is a sector which is going to, it dominates anyway. It's going to continue to dominate. So if you get the opportunity, there are hundreds of digital courses and agricultural data processing, machine learning in there. So if you've never done it before, or someone's interested, the QR codes are there, and the certifications. And so the industry that we're seeing, the space industry that's expanding before us at the moment, is crying out for these skills. So just as I say to everybody watching, if you have the opportunity to start looking at working in this sector, taking true advantage of this innovation, then please take the opportunity to build up on those skills. So that's my little plug, and I hope that's good. And I think that's from me, really. I think we're sort of back to our MC.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Rem. That was quite informative and an engaging webinar that you gave today. I would like to take a moment to thank both of you, and also thanking everyone in the audience for taking the time to attend this webinar and for your active participation with your comments and questions. Now, as we have come to the end of this webinar, we will dedicate the remaining 15 minutes for a Q&A session. And our moderators, who have been working in the back, behind the scenes, they have collected some interesting questions, and we'll take a minute here perhaps to go through those questions and collect the most interesting ones. And the questions that we may not be able to answer, we'll try to reach out to you through your contact details. So I would request our moderators if they could share those, the final list of the sorted list of questions, so that we can cover it during the Q&A session.
I think, Brijesh, I see in another chat that we already have the questions in a list, so I think we can go ahead with the questions.
Yes, I have access to those questions now. So let's start off with a question. This one is for you, Rem. This is about from Simon Williams. Well, it's more of a project request, I see. He says that he's working on projects in North Africa and wants to introduce the technology to remote government farms. And he has been working with our trial service, probably on the crop monitoring platform. And he finds it fascinating. And he would like to understand better how to interpret the data that he's looking for. And would love to learn more about this.
Thank you, Simon, for the question, because I also saw two more follow-ups after this from Simon. So I think the first thing is, of course, to reach out to us, and we will be able to walk you through the platform thoroughly to make sure that you understand everything inside out, because we do understand that the platform is a bit more, in terms of data, it's a lot of data that we offer. It could be a bit difficult to interpret, especially when we're gonna be introducing this kind of data to farmers that have never even realized that it's possible to use satellite data to monitor their farms. So here we need to really use simplified language, right? So we are not looking at using NDRE and DBI and the likes, right? We need to really simplify that information and deliver it to the end users, to those farmers. So in this case, Simon, do reach out to us. I would be more than happy to walk you through the platform itself, how to interpret the data, how to make it easier for those farmers to really utilize it to the max. So yeah, it's just a matter of reaching out to us and we will assist you.
Thank you for answering that, Rem. Next following questions, I think those are for me. This one coming from Ludek from AgriNova Consulting, one of our, I would say, loyal partners from the Europe. So his question is, what can I do to become a part of the launch of pest and diseases feature and anticipated yield forecast module? Well, for our partners and customers, we will notify you the moment we have launched these features. So these features are supposed to be integrated or provided as an add-on service to our existing product, crop monitoring platform. We will reach out to you with the notification. And also we will plan for a PR blog, perhaps an announcement for everyone like that we are ready with these solutions and what are the benefits of these solutions and how you can avail these services from us.
Also, one more point, if I may add, Brijesh, we are planning a workshop in June, considering, the first two, like the second quarter is, we are halfway, right? So in June, we are planning to do a workshop on our platform specifically when we're going to talk about the usage of the crop monitoring and also the features that I mentioned. I know I dropped a little bomb there on the pest and disease because I know this is something that everybody is after. So we will also showcase those new features and we will also talk about the things that we have planned for the rest of the year. So do attend that workshop, Ludek.
Great. Another question. This one comes from Pakistan. What is the current and expected coverage in Pakistan? So if your question was related to the satellite imagery coverage, then at the moment, yes, we are able to use satellite images from some of our partners. We are using it on our platform, the crop monitoring platform, and other products as well, like on forest monitoring. But talking specifically about the EOSat satellite, our own satellite, I can tell you that we'll be able to cover any region in the world, any country in the world, mostly the agricultural lands and forest lands, based on tasking, meaning that we would also, it's not just about covering the whole country, the whole agricultural land, or let's say the land surface, but it's also about using our own satellite constellation to specifically cover a certain region on demand. So the answer for it would be quite a general answer that we would be able to cover the whole Pakistan through the current sources. I would take another next question as well. This is yield assessment totally based on satellite images or does it involve physical data feeding? Well, actually both. So it involves processing of the satellite images, like we call it as a multi-temporal analysis of satellite imagery, and also involves collection of field level information. Like if in one of the slides related to yield prediction, I did mention about collecting of information such as crop calendar, like the sowing and harvesting dates of the crops, the concerned crops, of course, and also data related to the soil profile, or let's say the prevailing weather conditions in those regions where the crops are growing. So all this information are used, the data sets are used for us to calculate the yield values of the crops. Next question, this is about our EOS satellite. So this would be for you, Rem. So when are you going to release the first images from the EOS satellite? This question's come from Mike Wooding.
It's a very, very common question, and we've been getting even since last year. The imagery will be available in a week from now. We're going to launch the first PR that shows the quality of the imagery. Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
Very exciting.
It is. It certainly is. I mean, I already have seen the imagery, but I know that marketing is still working, or PR is still working on it, so I can't disclose yet. But in a week from now or so, we're going to showcase, of course, the first imagery publicly. And in terms of the platform itself, the data should be available in summer. The exact date is yet to be determined because we are still integrating the data into the platform itself. And considering it's only one satellite yet, we are, of course, we have to take into consideration that the revisit time is not going to be every 2-3 days. So there will be certain limitations considering it's only one satellite. However, we will communicate publicly, and we will talk about the EOSDA data within the crop monitoring as soon as the imagery is implemented in the platform itself. So it's very, very soon, I would say. Just be just a little bit more patient.
All right. Another question related to satellite imagery. What are some of the limitations of satellite imagery in agriculture, and do you have plans to solve this? I think, Rem, you would be in a better position to answer this as well.
I already know. And where do I begin? Because I know we are short on time here. But this is one of the questions and one of the things that we talked about with AWS, right? When we were talking about launching the SAT, why did we decide to launch another satellite constellation when, again, there are so many other operators out there in the market? And I mean, there are limitations in terms of using Sentinels, Landsats, and others. And of course, there are limitations as well in terms of using commercially available data. I'm not going to disclose, of course, the names of the names out there, but I'm sure all of us here know let's say the top players out there in the satellite imagery sector. But the thing is, when we talk about that kind of data, right, the commercially available data, it's a bit too expensive. And I'm sure the likes of here, Simon can relate, as I saw here in one of the comments, that in North Africa, and of course in Africa in general, cost is a really significant component that we have to think about, right? So this is not going to sit well with the agricultural sector within those players. So we have to think about the cost here. And the data, of course, is, I would say, not suitable for the ag sector because of the bands. So those satellites have not been designed to tackle issues related to the ag sector. When I mentioned the word obstacles, right, or problems, we are looking at issues such as there are a lot of farms out there that have really small fields. Some fields, for example, in India are barely 1 hectare or 2 hectares. So those are small fields that will require high quality data. Monsoon season, for example, is another issue, right, where you have endless clouds, endless months of clouds during the year. So that means we are not going to be able to cover that using satellite imagery. So we are talking about small farms. Clouds are an issue. The bands that are in the satellites out there at the moment, they are not bands that have been selected specifically, again, for agricultural. With the EOSSat, a combination of 13 bands were selected in order to make biophysical model, yield prediction. Even when we're doing, for example, historical analysis of fields, all of these bands are going to be able to provide us with that accurate data. And of course, atmospheric correction is one of the points that we're going to be tackling, or we're going to tackle with the EOSSat constellation. And of course, as I said at the beginning of this webinar, or during the webinar, we're going to be combining the data with Sentinel-2 so we can reconstruct those imagery when we had clouds, and that will allow us to get imagery, more frequent imagery, right? We don't want an image every 1 month or 2 months. We want an image. For the agricultural sector, we noticed that an image every 2-3 days is more than enough, right? So we want that good data, reliable, accurate, cost efficient. So this is what we are going to do, or we are trying to do with the EOSSat. There actually was a webinar that we've conducted on EOSSat itself back in December. So I do recommend watching that because we explain in scientific terms, of course, the value of those bands that have been selected in the constellation and why the launch, right? Why the constellation itself. So that's really in a very, very short answer to this question. Yeah.
Thank you, Rem. As I see that we have 4 more minutes. For all the questions, though, the ones that are related to soil organic carbon measurements, we will try to reach out to you after this webinar. So this webinar will be followed by a recorded session sent to your emails, registered emails. And then we have the list of questions from the chat section. We will reach out to you and talk to you about those solutions. The same applies for the white label solutions. I see lots of questions on asking for references of our white label customers. We will get back to you after this webinar. And let's see what else we can answer.
I see some questions here for Phil, perhaps.
Do we? Okay.
Questions for AWS.
Well, let's have a look. As I say, Not sure I'm going to get through all of them. So, certainly, let's have a quick look. Where would you like me to go first? I mean, as I say, I think probably broad. I can only give sort of broad brush comments in terms of that, but I think probably the main thing is to say that everything that we're doing in partnership with EOSDA is to help them make their products and services available quicker and faster to the market. We mentioned halfway through the talk today that the services, the products and services will be on the AWS marketplace. The reason for that means that you can access them instantly, run the services, and take advantage of cloud processing. So we're always going to make it more efficient. There's lots of questions about cost efficiency. I completely agree. Just rolling down at the moment, data processing and how you do that. I think probably the biggest thing we always say, and this is the skills question, is that we encourage and support our building community, our builders, and our builders are the pioneers. So allowing you to have the skills. We have over 200 services available on AWS, many of which I'm just not going to go through all today. But each one of those services allows you to build your Lego bricks of processing and data processing, and also consider that latency comment as well, which comes up time and time again. How soon do you need that data processed? Can you take the data and do interoperability? Do you take advantage of EC2? Do you take advantage of spot instances which exist on AWS so the data can be processed at an even more reduced price? Everything we do with our customers faster, quicker, more efficiently really requires our community, our partners, our customers to take advantage of those services, and that's something that we always encourage. And training's a super way of doing that. And so much of what gets built, is very much something that we learn as much from our customers, and we update our services accordingly. So there's a lot we're trying to do together in a short period of time there, and I'll try as well to go through some of those questions and answer them one by one with support of the team at EOSDA. But I just wanted to say just a quick summary point, actually, to say thank you very much for having me here. I know you've heard a lot about AWS on this call, and we're very grateful for that. But I think what EOSDA are doing is really pushing the bounds of data access, data analysis, IoT, soil organics, and that's exciting. And this is really where we're going to make a difference. And so I'd just like to thank them very much for having me along for this session. And I'll do my best to come to some of those other questions later.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Rem. It was a pleasure having both of you for today's webinar. And I hope everyone from the audience, they have enjoyed this webinar and got more insights and gained more knowledge from your expertise. And I think now we have come to the close of this webinar, and we should wrap up and not take much of your time. And thank you so much for the moderators for working behind the scenes and making it a smooth webinar. Thank you so much. Until we meet next time, I wish you a nice evening.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.